Aether Blader is a new special class that is only available to the Wizard and Cleric classes. The class deals 3 different types of elemental damage: None, Ice, and Lightning. The Tier 1 abilities include skills like Aqua Reave, Aqua Rift, and Tide Call. Aqua Reave lets the Aether Blader unleash a powerful elemental swing, dealing AoE damage in front and summoning a puddle on the ground. The puddle doesn't apply any special effect on its own and is limited to 5 at a time. However, enemies who touch a puddle will receive the Drenched debuff. These puddles and debuff interact with Tier 2 abilities like Frost Shatter and Frim Veil. Using Frost Shatter on a puddle converts it into a Frost Pillar, dealing additional damage. Using Frost Shatter against enemies with the Drenched debuff will freeze them for 3 seconds. The same effect applies when using Frim Veil with the Cold Echo attribute. More importantly, Aqua Reave can also inflict the Drenched debuff. This is very useful in situations where your character has already summoned 5 puddles on the ground and needs another source to reapply the Drenched debuff immediately. And because the skill has such a low cooldown, you can spam it constantly without any problems. Our next Tier 1 ability is Aqua Rift. This skill lets Aether Blader summon multiple pillars of water, dealing a massive amount of AoE damage. It also summons puddles, but only at the location of each pillar. The best part of this ability is actually the pillars themselves. You can use them as single target damage if you manage to summon multiple pillars between enemies. Here is a good example of the difference between using 1 water pillar and 2 water pillars from Aqua Rift on an enemy target. As you can see, the damage is much higher if you manage to land 2 water pillars on your target. Unfortunately, enemy size does matter with this skill, so hitting smaller targets with multiple pillars might be a bit difficult. But then again, this is an AoE skill, so having a single target DPS option is a great addition to your playstyle. Each Aqua Rift pillar also leaves a puddle behind after being used. Since Aqua Rift summons pillars in front of your character at multiple positions, you can also use Frost Shatter with the Shatterline Arts attribute to summon an Ice Blade that converts all puddles into frost walls. And lastly, we have an ability called Tide Call under the Tier 1 category. This skill grants Aether Blader a special buff that boosts its final damage and increases puddle duration. Tide Call has a 1-minute cooldown, but the buff lasts up to 30 seconds. The skill also has a fixed casting time of 1 second, and you can't reduce the cast speed with items or special buffs like Quick Cast from Chronomancer or common skills. Aether Blader Tier 2 abilities include Frost Shatter and Frim Veil. Frost Shatter is an AoE ability with a very low cast time. Its damage is relatively low, but it's compensated by a special interaction with puddles and the Drenched debuff. Enemies hit by Frost Shatter while affected by the Drenched debuff are instantly frozen for 3 seconds. This freezing effect also applies during weekly boss raid content, which is useful for stun-locking enemies or preventing them from using specific skills. Frost Shatter also converts all puddles on the ground into ice walls, dealing damage equivalent to Frost Shatter's skill factor. You can summon up to a maximum of 5 ice walls, thanks to the puddle limit. To give you the short answer, let's say Frost Shatter deals damage by this exact formula. This means that each ice wall will also deal the exact same damage as the formula above. Having 5 ice walls makes a huge difference in DPS, thanks to this special interaction with puddles. Frost Shatter also has a Shatterline Arts attribute, which causes the skill to release a magical ice blade in front, dealing damage and helping your character convert puddles into frost walls from a distance. This attribute is very strong with the Aqua Rift ability, since you can reach faraway puddles summoned by Aqua Rift. Next, we have Frim Veil. This is a dashing ability that lets Aether Blader get closer to enemies in a short period of time. This skill also has an attribute called Cold Echo, which applies effects similar to the Frost Shatter ability, such as freezing enemies in the drenched state and converting puddles into frost walls. Frim Veil also has an arts attribute called Frozen Stance, which prevents your character from dashing and allows you to perform the skill on the spot. This is actually pretty good if you don't like the dashing version of the skill. And finally, we have one of the strongest abilities in the game. It's called Arcane Collapse. This is Aether Blader's Tier 3 ability, and it has one of the most ridiculous special effects in the game. This skill has only a 1-second cooldown, but applies a special debuff that lets players reuse it multiple times. Each debuff reduces the chance to successfully cast the ability again. Casting the skill for the first time has a 100% success chance. Casting it for the second time reduces that chance to 40%. Casting it for the third time lowers the success chance to 20%. Every time you cast Arcane Collapse, it refreshes the debuff duration, which can be a bit frustrating if you fail to cast it on the second or third attempt. One of the best solutions is to stop casting Arcane Collapse if your character fails to recast the skill on the second attempt. In fact, your character will most likely fail the third attempt, and you can save at least 3 to 4 seconds on the overload debuff. However, it is still possible to cast Arcane Collapse after failing the second cast, but that's extremely rare since you only have a 20% chance to succeed. Arcane Collapse also deals extra damage against enemies affected by the Drenched or Freeze debuffs. The Freeze debuff only lasts for 3 seconds, so you usually won't have enough time to benefit from the bonus damage for Arcane Collapse. Luckily, the Drenched debuff remains even after enemies are frozen. It is also very satisfying to cast 3 Arcane Collapses. Just make sure to use Quick Cast from Chronomancer if you're a wizard, or Quick Cast level 5 from the common skill if you're a cleric.